Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day to you. That's depending where you are in the world. We're here live in London doing our nighttime devotion from the devotional Conflict and Courage. The title today, Doubts and Questions. Matthew 14 verse 27 reads, Straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid. So they, the disciples, entered into a ship, went over the sea toward Capernaum. They had left Jesus with dissatisfied hearts. They murmured because they had not been permitted to proclaim him king. They blamed themselves for yielding so readily to his command. Unbelief was taking possession of their minds and their hearts. Love of honor had blinded them. Would Christ never assert his authority as king? Why did not he who possessed such power reveal himself in his true character and make their way less painful? Why had he not saved John the Baptist from a violent death? Thus, the disciples reasoned until they brought upon themselves great spiritual darkness. They questioned, could Jesus be an impostor? As the Pharisees asserted. The disciples had that day witnessed the wonderful works of Christ. It had seemed that heaven had come down to the earth. The memory of that precious, glorious day should have filled them with faith and hope. Had they, out of the abundance of their hearts, been conversing together in regard to these things, they would not have entered into temptation. Their thoughts were stormy and unreasonable, and the Lord gave them something else to afflict their souls and occupy their minds. God often does this when men create burdens and troubles for themselves. A violent tempest had been stealing upon them, and they were unprepared for it. They forgot their disaffection, their unbelief, their impatience. Everyone worked to keep the boat from sinking. Until the fourth watch of the night, they toiled at the oars. Then the weary men gave themselves up for lost. In storm and darkness, the sea had taught them that their own helplessness, that they longed for the presence of their master. Jesus had not forgotten them. At the moment when they believe themselves lost, a gleam of light reveals a mysterious figure approaching them upon the waters. Their beloved master turns his voice and silences their fear. Be of good cheer, it is I. Be not afraid. So it's titled Doubts and Questions. And as is said here, at the time when Jesus had done so much, and yet when he turned away from the city, when he came away, when the disciples were expecting him to assert himself as king, to take over the throne, this is what they thought it was all working up to. I have this power, I can do these miracles, I am this great person, godlike, etc. And I'm going to take this throne, the earthly throne. And yet he didn't do it. So the disciples were greatly perplexed, disappointed, confused. Why didn't he save John the Baptist? Why didn't he take the throne? Is he an impostor, or is he not the Messiah like the Pharisees didn't believe that he was? And they were, yeah, bitterly disappointed. And doubt was there. Heavy, deep, dark doubt. And then they went into the boat. And this is how God works. Because they're in the boat and they're in their place of comfort that they know. God caused the storm to happen. God caused them to do everything they knew to do to save themselves in this boat. But the storm was greater than they could even anticipate or endure. And it got to the stage where they gave up all hope because they could see they could do nothing to save themselves because the storm was so great and the boat was so small. And in giving up, this is when Jesus reintroduces himself. And he says, basically, what's your problem? Be of good cheer. I'm here. You don't need to be afraid. And God does this in our lives. We are greatly distressed, perplexed, confused. We don't understand what's going on because we were doing everything right. But I've prayed and I've prayed and I've prayed and this hasn't happened. I've done everything right. I've kept the commandments. I've kept the Sabbath. I don't eat meat. And this hasn't happened. And you despair and you lose hope. And that's the time when Jesus will come into your life and say, what's your problem? I'm here. No need to be afraid. Don't lose hope. There is always hope.